Hello guys and gals, I'm Nick and welcome to Firthy's Feedback. Oh dear. 3 weeks ago, in episode 4 of House of the Dragon, Princess Rhaenyra and her uncle Daemon started getting it on, only for Daemon to chicken out and flee. In my review, I expressed my heartfelt relief and gratitude that we'd been spared a full-blown sex scene. Kind of. Sadly, I spoke too soon, because this week, in episode 7, all my deepest, clammiest fears have come true. The worst of it is, they didn't even pause to agonise over the morality of it. Not even for a moment. It was as if they'd actually forgotten they're related. I found myself shouting at the screen in a desperate attempt to remind them. Rhaenyra, you abandoned me. Daemon, you were a child. Me, she was your niece. Rhaenyra, I'm no longer a child. Me, but you're still his niece. My efforts, however, were to no avail, and we were soon subjected to the full, sickening horror. It was tough enough with their previous intimate scene, but this one was excruciating, not least because it was shot as if it was actually a normal sex scene. The slow, teasing, will they, won't they build up, lingering looks, tilting heads, then they hungrily kiss to a soundtrack of swooning violins, then the delicate, tender removal of each other's clothes, and then finally, the pair of them going at it full bore on a beautiful deserted beach, while in the background the waves heaved and sighed. From start to finish, it was grotesque, and I assume a deliberate parody of all the hoariest sex scene cliches. But you're his niece, and you're her uncle! No, they still weren't listening to me. I know this is Westeros, where royal incest is seemingly considered no more than a mild breach of upper-class etiquette, like resting your elbows on the table or saying toilet instead of loo, but that doesn't make it any easier to watch. And then at the end of the episode, we were forced to watch them slurping each other's faces off once again because they'd actually gone and got married, having apparently seen no other obstacle in this arrangement other than the fact that Rhaenyra was already married to someone else. That minor impediment was swiftly dealt with as Daemon hired someone to bump the existing husband off. In a neat twist, however, it turned out that the husband, Laenor Velaryon, was in on the plot all along and with the help of the supposed hitman was able to fake his own death and escape to a new life elsewhere. An outcome which I imagine will suit him rather nicely, given that he never seemed entirely happy in his marriage to Rhaenyra, what with him being gay and all, so at least the incest ended up doing someone some good. Anyway, grim though it may have been, this was another strong episode, crackling with tension and conflict, in particular the brawl between the royal brats that resulted in one of Queen Alicent's sons losing an eye to one of Rhaenyra's. This was followed by Alicent in the latest step of her journey from meek ingenue to vengeful Gorgon, bellowing at her husband, "I shall have one of her son's eyes in return." Funnily enough, King Viserys wasn't altogether keen on this suggestion, given that Rhaenyra's sons also happen to be his own grandsons, which is a point worth dwelling on, because in House of the Dragon, it isn't just Rhaenyra and her uncle who have an unhealthily close relationship. Now that Sir Otto Hightower is back, the King's chief advisor is the father of the King's wife, which means he's also the grandfather of some of the King's children. Meanwhile, the King's wife is the former childhood confidant of the King's daughter, but now in adulthood, the two are bitter rivals because the King's advisor wants his own eldest grandson, the King's son, to take the throne instead of the King's daughter. No, not easy to keep track of, is it? At any rate, all these characters are far too closely linked for their own good, or for that matter, anyone else's. In fact, their closeness is what's driving them apart. Still, great drama. I can't go, however, without mentioning the episode's one serious flaw. Lord Larys Strong, The simpering psychopath was barely in it. Despite what he did in last week's shocking climax, the writers allotted him just a single paltry minute of screen time. Honestly, goodness knows what they're playing at. Laris is arguably the show's best character. I felt as if I'd gone to watch a new Bond film, only to find that 007 had nothing more than a brief cameo 50 minutes in, sipping an espresso while browsing TikTok. Anyway, that's a small criticism. What did you guys think of the episode? Let me know below.